Well, we have understood events, but while we were discussing events, we quickly went to the Google Tag Manager and tried to look at some of these things and went out, but we did not understand exactly what this Tag Manager is. And of course, as a marketer or as a data analyst, you don't have to worry about how Tag Manager works, but you should know what role Tag Manager plays so that you are able to work with your developers better. And in case you need to make small changes, you should be well aware of how to check out those things. Okay, so let's take a look at the Tag Manager, get an overview quickly and move on from there. Welcome back, Google Analytics users. How are you doing today? Let's check out why we need the Google Tag Manager and how it is helpful in your Google Analytics implementation. Okay, so back to our screen, and over here, if you see, I have opened the TryShop Neil Live website. And in this website, I just right click on one of these buttons, clicked on inspect, and I went to this menu item. Okay, and this is all code. So I don't expect you to understand that, but it will be helpful for you to understand it conceptually. Basically, this part is the HTML code part. It comprises of HTML, CSS, and JavaScript. Okay, and it is responsible for drawing this page and all these actions that are happening over here. It's responsible for taking care of those actions as well. For example, if I click on add to cart over here, this code gets evoked. Okay, and it does something behind the scenes, and therefore the product gets added to your cart. Okay, so far so good. But then let's say on this add to cart, I also want to fire a Google Analytics event. Okay, and I want to send information like the t-shirt product was added to cart. Okay, so product name as add to cart. I want to send as event parameters. Maybe I want to send user properties as well, that this particular user generally buys t-shirts. Okay, so t-shirt lover maybe. Okay, so that's the concept. If the developer had to fire that event, what they would do is they would write the code right over here or somewhere in the JavaScript, okay, on this website. And on the click, it would listen to the clicks. Okay, that as soon as the click happens, it will say that, okay, the click has happened, send the XYZ information along with this. And there are so many things over here. If you see, there are menu items, button clicks, then there are these image clicks that's possible, and a lot of data that can be collected from these kind of pages, right? You can see the interaction that user can have. It's a long list. So for every such event or a bunch of such actions that's happening, the developer has to insert some Google Analytics code. And soon you will see that this part gets really messy. There is your actual website code that's doing all the job for website, and somewhere in between you have a lot of Google Analytics code. And then maintenance of this is extremely difficult. It's not understandable properly. Okay, so all these things started creating an issue, and therefore the advent of Google Tag Manager happened. Okay, now Google Tag Manager actually takes away all these code from here. Okay, this part, and you can do it inside the Tag Manager like this. Okay, for example, I'll show you one of them. Okay, let's click on this add to cart data. Okay, so as soon as any of those button is clicked, that's determined by the trigger. Okay, when the trigger would happen, these kind of JavaScript code is inserted. Okay, you can see it's already getting pretty complex over here, and there is a reason, because if you want to have a very advanced level of data capture, it has to be complex. Okay, and that's where you need JavaScript developers, HTML developers to work with you. But then if Tag Manager was not there, I would have to take this entire data, entire code that I have written, okay, and I would have to go back to the website over here, and I have to find the source code, and over there somewhere in a JavaScript file or in this HTML file, I'll have to insert that code, okay, and there are such hundreds of lines of code that's possible, right? But now with Tag Manager, I have segregated that, okay, all the GTM related code or analytics related code is over here, and all the website related code is right over here. Okay, so concerns are separate. That's number one reason. Number two reason is that it's easy to maintain. You have got your Tag Manager developers who do not want to work with the website developers, and it gets messy at times, so they can do their job separately. But the question is that till this point of time, we have actually learned about how our website works with the analytics account, right? There's an ID that works with it. But what about Google Tag Manager? Now, Google Tag Manager doesn't know which website to work with and where to listen for these clicks and all these things, right? So how does that work? But since this is not for developers, this is for us to understand at a conceptual level how these things work. I'll not talk about it right over here, but I'll give you the conceptual understanding of how the linking happens. Okay. Now let's go back to the drawing board. Until this point of time, we have said that this is our website and this is our analytics account. And analytics account has got these properties from where we get these measurement IDs. We pick those measurement IDs and we paste it in all the pages of the JavaScript code. If you remember, we push it in all the pages of the website where we want to track the pages and all the user actions. But with Tag Manager, this has to change. So what we do is we sever this connection, okay, and we bring in the Tag Manager. Each Tag Manager account, okay, it's known as containers in Tag Manager. The thing that we saw over here, we called it property. In Tag Manager, we call it as containers. So every container gets a similar kind of a ID. We'll shortly see it. And that ID, along with that kind of a JavaScript code that we are aware of, has to be pasted in all the pages where we want the Google Analytics to work. And inside Tag Manager, we configure the Google Analytics property tag where we want to send the data. Okay, so essentially the data flow happens like this and not like this. Okay, that's the change that has to happen, and therefore the Tag Manager comes in between. Let's see how that works in Tag Manager. All right, so now we are in this website where I've opened the source code of the website right over here, okay, for this page. And you will see that over here, there's an insertion right over here, right? And the insertion has this code of GTM, Google Tag Manager, added by Sitekit. Let's not worry about that, but it's the Google Tag Manager. And there is a Google Tag Manager ID you can see over here, okay? And if I go to Tag Manager, and if I try to see the ID, you will find it's the same ID. And if I click over here, it has got this similar kind of a JavaScript code that has to be pasted on all the pages where I want to work with the Google Tag Manager, okay? Now, you can see it over here. So if I go to home, let's see if it is there in the home or not. I'll open head. And you will see it over here again. Okay, so all those pages where I want to track it and send data to Google Analytics, I have inserted this. Okay, you can do it by asking your developer to do so. Okay, in WordPress, there are plugins that will help you do it, but there are many ways to do it, right? So that's one part. And this part actually connects your Tag Manager with the website. Okay, just like we had discussed for the analytics. But then now we need to connect the analytics to Tag Manager, right? So as per our diagram, we have done this connection, but this connection has to be made, right? And how that is done, let's go to Tag Manager, and this is my account. And inside that, we create something called a Google Analytics GA4 configuration, okay? And inside that, you will see that there are all these options, but most importantly, this measurement ID has been mentioned over here. And this is nothing but the analytics account measurement ID, okay? And this tag will fire on all the pages because my triggering is based on all the pages. So every time a page loads, this will get fired, and this will get fired, and it will send a page view data to our analytics account. And that's how the connection is made over here. Okay. So now you get the idea. Just before we sum up, let me discuss about the Tag Manager. So every Tag Manager has a few important components that you have to know. There are tags, triggers, and variables. Okay. So tags are the actions that you need to do. For example, fire an event, send data with the event. We saw a few examples, right? So that kind of thing can be configured inside tag, and tags fire on triggers. Okay. At what point do you want to fire that event? Okay. On a button click, on a page load, on something else. Okay. So that is defined in triggers. So if I go to triggers, you'll find that kind of a thing. Sometimes the checkout is clicked, sometimes the product is clicked, sometimes somebody logs into product pages. So those are configured inside triggers. And on the activation of these triggers, the button is clicked, this trigger got activated, the tag was linked to this trigger, and the tag has some event and some data with the event, and all that gets fired, okay, and sent to Google. There is also variables. Variables are, again, just like in any programming language, there is something called variables, which stores the data of some sort of data on the website. For example, you want to save the data of the product in an object like variables, you can do so. You can do some JavaScript customized data collection from the website and so on, okay? And these variables get used in tags and triggers at different point of time. Wherever the data is needed, you want to send it to Google Analytics, the data is saved in a variable, and you can send the data directly from the variable to the Google Analytics account, okay? So that's the advantage of having variables. Now, this should be enough for you to understand the linkage of Google Tag Manager to website and Google Analytics and so on. And beyond this, you will not need it, because now you can work with a developer, explain what kind of events they need. And if they have questions, you can always talk in terms of tags, triggers, and all these things, right? So I hope this helps. With that, we'll close the discussion on Tag Manager. Of course, if you want to learn how GTM works or how Google Analytics and all these things connection is made in real time and exact ways of doing it, you'll find a few lessons in the glossary or the bonus section if you want to say that, and go ahead and check that out. But over here, I'll close this chapter and I'll meet you in the next chapter with a lot of new concepts. Thank you.